Namaste, Dandavat Pranam, by the instruction and grace of our Gurudev, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj. We are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble Dandavat Pranam to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Bhagavatam. We're also praying to Srimati Radharani by the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati told us that unless we can understand something about Srimati Radharani through our reading of Bhagavatam, if we have not done that, then our study has been for waste. So keeping this in mind, we are praying to Srimati Radharani. Yadi seva vanchitasyama yasya kripaya vayam labema sarvam prapnuma prayojanam damni Sri Bhagavat Pade Krishna sambandhi sarvam cha yadina jani mahe tutam astadashasu sahasreshu shlokanam Bhagavat otishu radharanim navindamatada nishralam Bhagavat adhyayanam radhi kaya kripam vina vyartasyat sarva padishrama. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Radharani within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Srimati Radharani, all our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing our reading today from Canto 4. Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 31. Nārada instructs the Pracetās. Text 3. Tanirjita pranamano vachodrisho jitashanan shantasamana vigraham Hare male brahmani jyotitatmana surasare jodadrishe sma Nārada. After practicing the yoga asana for mystic yoga, the Pracetās managed to control their life air, mind, words, and external vision. And thus, by the pranayama process, they were completely relieved of material attachment. By remaining perpendicular, they could concentrate their minds on the uppermost Brahman. While they were practicing this pranayama, the great sage Nārada, who is worshipped by both demons and demigods, came to see them. Purport. In this verse, the words Pare Amale are significant. The realization of Brahman is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. The absolute truth is realized in three phases: impersonal effulgence, Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. In his prayers, Lord Shiva concentrated upon the personal features of Para Brahman, described in personal terms as Snigdha Pavrit Ganasyamam, Bhagavatam 4.24.45. Following the instructions of Lord Shiva, the Pracetās also concentrated their minds on the Shyam Sundar form of the Supreme Brahman. Although impersonal Brahman, Paramatma Brahman, and Brahman, the Supreme Person, are all on the same transcendental platform, the personal feature of the Supreme Brahman is the ultimate goal and the last word in transcendence. The great sage Nārada travels everywhere. He goes to the demons and the demigods and is equally respected. He is consequently described herein as Surasuradhya, worshipped by both demons and demigods. For Nārada Muni, the door of every house is open. Although there is perpetual animosity between the demons and demigods, Nārada Muni is welcomed everywhere. Nārada is considered one of the demigods, of course, and the word Devarshi means the saintly person among the demigods. But not even the demons envy Nārada Muni. Therefore, he is equally worshipped both by demigods and demons. A perfect Vaishnava's position should be just like Nārada Muni's, completely independent and unbiased. Text 4. Tam agatam ta utaya pranipatya binandya cha pujayet vayata desham sukhashinam atabruvan. As soon as the Prachetas saw the great sage Narada had appeared, they immediately got up, even from their asanas. As required, they immediately offered obeisances and worshipped him. And when they saw that Narada Muni was properly seated, they began to ask him questions. Purport. It is significant that all the Prachetas were engaged in practicing yoga to concentrate their minds on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 5. Pracetasa uchu Svagatante surashardya Distyano darshanam gata Tavachankramanam brahman Abhayaya yatarave. All the Prachetas began to address the great sage Narada. O great sage, O Brahmana, we hope you met with no disturbances while coming here. It is due to our great fortune that we are now able to see you. By the traveling of the sun, people are relieved from the fear of darkness of night, a fear brought about by thieves and rogues. Similarly, your traveling is like the sun's, for you drive away all kinds of fear. Purport. Because of the night's darkness, everyone is afraid of rogues and thieves, especially in great cities. People are often afraid to go out on the streets, and we understand that even in a great city like New York, people do not like to go out at night. More or less, when it is night, everyone is afraid, either in a city or in a village. However, as soon as the sun rises, everyone is relieved. Similarly, this material world is dark by nature. Everyone is afraid of danger at every moment, but when one sees a devotee like Narada, all fear is relieved. Just as the sun disperses darkness, the appearance of a great sage like Narada disperses ignorance. When one meets Narada or his representative, a spiritual master, one is freed from all anxiety brought about by ignorance. Text 6. Yad adistam bhagavata shivhenadoksa jainacha tadgriheshu prashaptanam prayasa kshapitam prabhu. O Master, may we inform you that because of our being overly attached to family affairs, we almost forgot the instructions we received from Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Purport. Remaining in family life is a kind of concession for sense enjoyment. One should know that sense enjoyment is not required, but one has to accept sense enjoyment inasmuch as one has to live. As confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kamasya Nendriya Prati, one has to become a Goswami and control his senses. One should not simply use his senses for sense gratification. Rather, the senses should be employed just as much as required for maintaining body and soul together. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends anashaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjata. One should not be attached to sense gratification, or one should not be attached to sense objects, but should accept sense enjoyment in as much as required and no more. If one wishes to enjoy the senses more than required, he becomes attached to family life, which means bondage. All the Prachetas admitted their fault in remaining in household life. Text 7. Tanha pradyo tayadhyatma Janam tatvarta darshanam Yenanjasa tarishyamo Dustaram babasagaram. Dear Master, kindly enlighten us in transcendental knowledge, which may act as a torchlight by which we may cross the dark nescience of material existence. Purport. The Prachetas requested Narada to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Generally, when a common man meets a saintly person, he wishes to get some material benediction. However, the Pracetās were not interested in material benefit, for they had enjoyed all this sufficiently, nor did they want the fulfillment of their material desires. They were simply interested in crossing the ocean of nescience. Everyone should be interested in getting out of these material clutches. Everyone should approach a saintly person in order to be enlightened in this connection. One should not bother a saintly person to get blessings from material enjoyment. Generally, householders receive saintly persons to get their blessings, but their real aim is to become happy in the material world. Asking such material benedictions is not recommended in the Shastras. Text 8. Maitreya Uvacha Iti Prachetasam Prishto Bhagavan Narado Muni Bhagavat Yutama Shloka Avistatma Brahminrapan. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, being thus petitioned by the Pracetās, the supreme devotee Nārada, who is always absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, began to reply. Purport. In this verse, Bhagavan Nārada indicates that Nārada is always absorbed in thoughts of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavat Yuttama Shloka Avishtitam. Avishtatma. Bhagavat Yuttama Shloka Avishtatma. Nārada has no other business than thinking of Krishna, talking of Krishna, and preaching about Krishna. Therefore, he is sometimes called Bhagavan. Bhagavan means one who possesses all opulences. When a person possesses Bhagavan within his heart, he is also sometimes called Bhagavan. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, Sakshad Dharitmena Shamasta Shastra. In every Shastra, the spiritual master is accepted directly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This does not mean that the spiritual master or a saintly person like Nārada has actually become the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is accepted in this way because he possesses the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart constantly. As described here, Avishtatma, when one is simply absorbed in the thought of Krishna, one is also called Bhagavan. Bhagavan possesses all opulence. If one possesses Bhagavan within his heart, always, does he not automatically possess all opulences also? In that sense, a great devotee like Nārada can be called Bhagavan. However, we cannot tolerate when a rascal or impostor is called Bhagavan. One must possess either all opulences or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, who possesses all opulences. Text 9. Nārada Uvacha Taj Janmatani Karmani Tad Ayus Tanmanovacha Nurnamyena Hi Vishvatma Sevyate Harir Ishvara. The great sage Nārada said, when a living entity is born to engage in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Controller, his birth, all his fruitive activities, his lifespan, his mind, and his words are all factually perfect. Purport. In this verse, the word Nirnam is very important. There are many other births besides human birth, but Narada Muni is herein especially speaking of human birth. Among human beings, there are different types of men. Of these, those who are advanced in spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness are called Aryans. Among Aryans, one who engages in the devotional service of the Lord is most successful in life. The word Nirnam indicates that lower animals are not expected to engage in devotional service of the Lord, but in perfect human society, everyone should engage in devotional service of the Lord. It does not matter whether one is born poor or rich, black or white. There may be so many material distinctions for one who takes birth in human society, but everyone should engage in the Lord's devotional service. At the present moment, civilized nations have given up God consciousness for economic development. They are actually no longer interested in advancing in God consciousness. Formerly, their forefathers were engaged in executing religious principles. Whether one is Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, Jewish, or whatever, everyone has some religious institution. Real religion, however, means becoming God conscious. It is particularly mentioned herein that birth is successful if an interest in Krishna consciousness is taken. Activity is successful if it results in serving the Lord. Philosophical speculation or mental speculation is successful when engaged in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The senses are worth possessing when engaged in the service of the Lord. Actually, devotional service means engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. At the present moment, our senses are not purified. Therefore, our senses are engaged in the service of society, friendship, love, politics, sociology, and so on. However, when the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, one attains bhakti or devotional service. In the next verse, these matters will be more clearly explained. When one great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Lord, he said that all his desires were fulfilled. He said, "Today everything is auspicious. Today my birthplace and neighborhood are completely glorified. Today my senses, from my eyes down to my toes, are fortunate. Today my life is successful because I have been able to see the lotus feet that are worshipped by the goddess of fortune." And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 10 on Wednesday. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Shyam Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi.
Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol. Jai Shrimati Uma Devi Dasi Ki Jai.
Jai
Hare
Gurudev.
Krishna.
श्रीपाद कृष्ण केशव प्रभु जी की जय।
Jai Gurudev.
दंडवत प्रणाम।
Dhanavad.